I mean, I often say if you get off social media, and I have to be on social media a lot, you get out and you talk to people and you find out, hey, you know what? Most people are pretty agreeable. They get along and they treat each other pretty well. And then you get on social media and everybody turns into a you-know-what. Right. I don't understand it, but I think you have to put the two in sort of two different compartments and understand this is not real life. And by not real life, I'm talking about social media, not real life.
No doubt. Well, nobody was complaining the other night, and certainly not you, John, when the game was shortened by lightning, right? And I heard you talk with Mike about it, and I saw the coverage that night, where Doug and John Harbaugh met in the hallway, kind of both with like, you want to play? No. You want to play? Nope. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, I've had this weird, speaking of social media, I've had this weird blowback, and I don't necessarily understand it because I've just pointed out Sean McVay, second straight year, hasn't played his starters. Frank Reich, Doug's ex-offensive coordinator, didn't play his starters in the traditional dress rehearsal game. Matt Nagy, everybody scaled back. Doug has scaled back dramatically. And I don't know. There's this romanticism towards preseason football that refuses to acknowledge that it's changed and it's not very important. And I constantly get this drumbeat of, you got to evaluate the young players. Well, and this is what I kind of said, Pete. Think about that. If it were that important to Doug Peterson and John Harbaugh, they would have waited.
Right.
If they needed that tool to define the back end of their roster, they would have just waited it out like a regular season game. They don't need it. They were the first ones who said, let's get the heck out of here. They didn't want to be there. And I think that tells you all you need to know.
53 roster spots. How many of them do you think are sewn up?
Quite a few. I think before the game I had 47 definites, and that wasn't even counting the injured players, except Camus, who's sort of a definite. If you have to carry Nate Sudfeld, if you have to carry Crevan LeBlanc, if you have to carry Richard Rodgers, depending on the severity of these injuries, that gets you to 50. And then I didn't even put somebody like Wiz on there. If you think Wiz is going to make the team, that gets you to 51. Mm-hmm. So there are not a lot of open jobs for this team, but we knew that before this whole thing started. I mean, this is a deep team. It's pretty clear who they like, and there's so many veteran players. There's not really a great opportunity for some of the younger players to catch people's eyes and make this football team. They're really, the ceiling for a lot of them is the practice squad or opening the eyes of someone else, and that probably happened at the college level when they were getting scouted originally, not from preseason football.
And it made me laugh. They were talking on the broadcast. John McMullen's with us, our 97.3 ESPN Eagles insider. They were talking on the broadcast about Josh McCown being 40 and the guy snapping the ball to him being the same age as McCown's daughter, 21.
Well, and by the way, Josh McCown, I mean, you kind of saw in a really short window, in a really meaningless environment, just from the throws. That's what you take out of preseason football. I mean, there were 3 different throws. The most obvious one, the touchdown to J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, which was just perfect. And remember, he was in his pool coaching high school football, doing things like that a week ago. There was the out pattern to Greg Ward, which was just on a dime. Those are throws that you don't see from Nate Sudfeld, Cody Kessler, Clayton Thorson. You just don't see them. You certainly don't see them consistently. And that's why I think the Eagles went out and got him. And they've been trying for a while, all the way back to July, and it's because they did not feel comfortable with the backup quarterback situation, and they feel comfortable. And I don't know if it says more about Josh or it says more about the NFL as a whole, but he walks in here straight out of his pool drinking White Claws, and he's a top 5 backup in the NFL.
Yeah, he certainly stood in there and took that hit. You buying anything into the rumors that because Arcega-Whiteside is playing so well that the Eagles might be shopping Alshon Jeffrey?
I always leave a door open for Howie Roseman because Howie likes this stuff. Howie breathes. He enjoys being noticed, to be honest. I think he's done a great job. I don't think anyone has given him more credit than me. But if you start talking about flaws, and we all have them, not everybody's perfect. I think one of his flaws is a little bit of hubris and a little bit of, I want you to look at me. So when people start talking about Jadeveon Clowney or people start talking about trading Alshon Jeffrey at this stage or even Nelson Aguilar, I never say no 100% because there is that part of Howie Roseman. I say the same thing with draft choices. There's a reason Mac Hollins is safe, and it's not because he's earned it, not because he's played better than Greg Ward. It's because he's a Howie Roseman draft choice. That's why he's safe. And he doesn't want to give up on him this early. So there's that part of it. But, yeah, I mean, to me, we've just talked about preseason football. JJ was great. I think this team is really, really excited about him. But it's more about 2020 because Alshon has a really big salary cap number. Deshaun's 33 at that time. Nelson's a free agent. It may not be back. This team's trying to win a Super Bowl. And you can point to the high-profile drop in New Orleans, but when you're trying to win a Super Bowl, when you're trying to keep the window open and you're trying to go through it, you don't play rookie players when your other option is Alshon Jeffrey. So I leave it open 10% or less, but it would be strange.
Well said.
Because even if you think real quick, Pete, I know I was late, but real quick, even if you think about the lower level veteran players they brought in, the Sendejos, the Cyprians, Orlando Scandrick, veteran players to go win the Super Bowl, you don't want to play young players.
I would never cut you off when you're saying great things like that, John McMullen, our 97.3 Eagles insider. I will quickly say this before we let you go. When did it become Arthega? We didn't know that on the day he was drafted, right? When did that get announced?
It was about 3 weeks ago, I think. They made the big switch. So, yeah, we were all calling him Arcega, and then all of a sudden it popped up. It was Arthega. So, hey, that's what you want to be called. That's what it is. You got it. For now, it's Arthega.
I'll stick with that rather than the Assis guy that I think would get me in trouble on the radio, but you know where I could go with that joke. So, all right, buddy. Next week, Ryan and I are on Monday down at the Marquis de Lafayette, so that will be the next time we talk to you for football at 4. We'll have our full run, and I always appreciate you coming on my Saturday show, Johnny.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, PT.
All right, talk to you on Monday. John McMullen, our 97.3 ESPN Eagles insider. He says, I know I was late. Oh, hey, man, I'm not trying to cut you off. Listen, you're on a roll here. Again, preach it. Sing it, Johnny.